Twice the terror.
Hello and welcome to Twice the Terror. I'm Ryan.
I'm Kat.
And we are your hosts. If you're not familiar with the show, the way that it works is every single week we pick a topic, something supernatural, paranormal, or just plain weird, and we each bring a story or something related to that topic to share with each other and with the audience. Now, Kat, what is our episode for today?
Well, we're doing our favorite haunted bars or pubs. So
Absolutely.
I'm very excited about this one.
This is going to be fun, so grab a pint and wait for this all to blow over, as they say in Shaun of the Dead. Yeah, this was a fun one to research. My
research was just drinking, and I love that.
Well, and the thing about Pittsburgh, if for anybody who doesn't know, not that the bar had to come from Pittsburgh, but we got a lot of bars here. There's a lot of places. We like to joke that you've got Bridges bars and a lot of old historical churches. I
found out that the town that I live, the little bedroom neighborhood or whatever town that I live in, apparently has the most bars per square mile. It is like a record breaker of the most bars. And we have 3 breweries within walking distance of each other here. This is it was easy.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I actually, we'll get to my story, but I stumbled upon something easy as well that I didn't even realize. The minute I started doing research, I was like, oh, well, there we go. I found something super simple. But yeah, this is a cool one. This is a fun one. I think this is one of those ones where people can, especially if they're visiting the area or whatnot, they can definitely stop in, have a drink, and enjoy some of the ghost stories. It's a little bit easier than booking a hotel or something like that. People can kind of just stop in and enjoy it. So why don't you go first? I'm curious.
Okay.
What's up with your bar?
You did say that we didn't have to pick something local, but I did happen to, because this is actually one of my favorite bars in the area. So I picked Harold's Haunt.
Okay.
Which is over in Millvale. It's located at 142 Grant Avenue. And Harold's Haunt is this delightfully spooky LGBTQIA plus inclusive they bar. They said they bar instead of gay bar. I love that. So for all the old Yunzers who only know places based off of landmarks of what they used to be, this place used to be called Howard's Pub.
Okay.
So the owners of Howard's, known advocates of the queer community, they helped plan the Millvale Pride Festival and things like that. So when the owners of Maud's Paper Wing Gallery found out that they were going to be closing, they bought the bar so they could keep that spot alive for the community, alive. I find that funny. So when Maud's Paper Wing was originally purchased, they weren't expecting Harold to be a part of this sale. Harold is, I know I said this in a past episode about being respectful about the dead. Harold's a piece of work. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. That's putting it kind of light too. When I went to Harold's to ask about the ghost and everything, I actually got lucky enough to meet the owner, Athena, and she's like, well, what do you know? What do you know about Harold so far? And I'm like, oh, I've heard that he's kind of grumpy. And she's like, oh, he's beyond grumpy. He is sexist, racist, homophobic. And I'm like, oh, the entire Ist family. Oh my God. So you name it, Harold's got a problem with it. So I was talking to the bartenders, trying to get some information as well as a drink. I actually had a really amazing cocktail there that was vodka and lime with a little bit of aquafaba on top. I wasn't expecting that. I don't even know what aquafaba is, but it was delicious.
Isn't it the blue one? It's just a blue drink, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's beautiful looking. And I was like, I just want to look at it. I don't even want to drink it. So besides the witchy Victorian vibe that comes along with Harold's, you get these amazing cocktails to come with it, but they're not afraid to say that they have a ghost, and I love that about them. Some businesses are kind of shy to say that they have anything spooky going on, but they're really about it down at Harold's. So Athena was super nice, and I really appreciated her taking the time to talk to me about Harold, and so were the bartenders. They were amazing, and I was getting so much information from them from so many different places. I was in ghost hunter heaven. It was awesome. They told me they had 2 different mediums come across Harold. One did see him, and that's how they know that Harold is an older man, besides all the gross stuff that he says to them. But they held a seance on Beltane one year. Anyone who doesn't know what Beltane is, It's a pagan holiday that falls on one of the 2 days of the year where the veil between the two worlds, the living and the dead, is the thinnest, and the residents on either side can communicate with each other a little bit easier. Of course, the other holiday is Samhain or Halloween. Yeah. From what the one medium, I believe her name was Chelsea, could decipher on Beltane, Harold's stuck in this kind of loop in the back room of Maud's, just sort of pacing back and forth. And on Beltane, he kind of like snapped out of this like NASCAR circuit that he was in, and he looked around.
Harold's turning left.
Yeah,
he's constant loop.
he like snaps out of it. He looks around. He sees what's going on. He's like, "Oh no." Bunch of queer witches, feminists who are like, "Hi, Harold."
Probably being a jerk and against all kinds of people and is not going to move you forward in the afterlife.
Yeah, right? Whoever's controlling the afterlife, Harold's got to cook a little bit longer.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Do some more NASCAR lefts, Harold. Just keep going in circles around the bar.
So he's a straight up dirty old man. Like, I know we talked about provoking spirits and respecting the space and stuff, and I'm not saying you should go down there and try and provoke Harold or anything, of course.
Yeah, don't do that. That's a bad idea.
These are businesses. Please be polite. But Harold is a turd. He made a lot of inappropriate comments about one of the owners. And according to Athena, he hates Mara the most because she's Irish. That is how old and how racist Harold is. Like, he went to the ye olde school of racism.
Right.
Like, he's still...
Good Lord.
Which I also thought was really funny that they communicated to him on Beltane, because that's a Celtic holiday.
I was going to say, yeah.
I learned that Mara, one of the, the mod squad, did a ton of research on the area in Millvale and had a ton of info on the site. They actually did an interview with another podcast called Ghoul on Ghoul. So if you're looking for any other spooky podcasts, Ghoul on Ghoul is so much fun. I really enjoy listening to that. And before Maud's paper wing, there was Madame Bartel. So a local psychic who is known to go by a couple different names, Mrs. Bartel and the like. She had a storefront in the same location as that metaphysical store. So I thought that was a very interesting coincidence. If you could call it that. Mm-hmm. Also, back in the mid-1800s, there was a poor farm or a poorhouse in Millvale that was open for about 23 years. And what a poor farm is in essence, is a place to put people who are deemed unfit or undesirable by society. Right. So it could be anyone from the severely impoverished to the elderly, people with chronic illness, women. I mean, we were getting thrown in loony bins for things such as crimes no lesser than speaking or having opinions. It makes me think of all the things I would have been like. I mean, I could just imagine, like, oh, God, I'd be like a lifer. God, what's your job? You speak? No. So, two such things, women speaking loudly, having opinions, two things Harold has very strong opinions about. No one's really sure exactly where Harold came from exactly, but it seems as though the poor farm may have been like a likely source, whether he was an employee or a resident. So what has Harold been up to lately? Well, he likes to drain people's phones, drain their headphones, things like earbuds, stuff like that. Kills battery constantly. Typically, it's usually Mara from the sounds of it, because, Harold doesn't like her. To clarify, this does happen whenever someone steps into Harold's circuit, his little NASCAR track in the back room. It's like coming around.
There's Harold again. Somebody please design for us a photo of Harold wearing NASCAR gear, a ghost in NASCAR gear, and it says a Harold left. We can give it to the bar.
That's fantastic. Absolutely. Athena was saying that, like, her phone dies there all the time, like, more than it should. Like, she's like, yeah, sure. I spend a lot of time on my phone, but, like, it happens a lot at the store, more than normal. Also, Harold's been dropping lights. One of the bartenders was saying that, like, they have these, like, light bulbs that are strung up on hooks, and the hooks are, like, fish hooks. So in order for the light to come down, someone would have to, like, lift it up over the point of the hook in order for that to drop. So it's a little sus in that. Also, there is a door in the basement that they just have to keep open all the time because it keeps opening slowly on its own. Because they add to the creepiness of all of that.
Of course. Classic.
But besides Harold, there is another spirit in the bar. So Harold's typically over at Maud's, but there's another spirit that's been hanging around the bar. The Scooby Gang down at Maud's haven't quite gotten a medium in yet to scope out the situation, but they're fairly certain that it is another male entity, but a much more benevolent one than Harold. Mm-hmm. Harold isn't dangerous, he's just kind of a raging bigot.
Right.
But this new spirit inside of the They Bar, this one's been able to make some physical contact with people, from what I understand. They have a regular named Ringa, and they said they felt someone tugging on their pocket one day over at Harold's haunt, so not super fond of that. None of this is gonna ever, like, even if there's a ghost in there, like, tugging on people's pockets, none of this is gonna stop me from going down to Harold's haunt, because...
Oh, yeah.
It is so much fun. Like, I don't know any other bar you can go into, and they're just casually watching Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Like, wait, the show or the movie?
The show.
Okay,
the
thank
show.
God.
Yeah,
I was going to say, if it's the movie, if they're watching the live-action M. Night Shyamalan movie, then we got a problem. Somebody's got to pick some better movies. I mean, look, if anybody listened to our haunted, our top favorite horror movie episodes, I have a very particular taste in sometimes bad movies, but Avatar... The Avatar live action? Come on. Yeah. That's where we draw the line. That's too much.
Sorry, Shyamalan. I liked all your other movies.
Yeah. He's hit or miss. He's hit or miss.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway.
Oh, also, and this is like a complete, like, side note, but it was just, like, so much fun talking to them because the one bartender... Becca is telling me stories and Athena's telling me stories, and so Athena's like, yeah, this one ghost is touching people, and Harold's playing NASCAR in the back, and the bartender's like, oh, there's a portal down across the street, and I'm like, there's a portal?
And they're like, yeah. You don't just drop casually. There's a portal.
There's a portal in the tea shop. Yeah. And they were like, we were in there, and there's a female voice that says our names sometimes, and I was like, oh, I don't like it. And also, apparently, Whisper Nest is haunted. But unfortunately, Whisper Nest is now closed, so I'm not going to really be able to get the scoop on that. But Millvale is popping with, like...
Apparently.
The paranormal activity.
That would be an interesting place to go and do a series of investigations across multiple buildings. If we could get the owners... to agree to that would be a fun thing to kind of like go to the different places and see kind of what we pick up and see if the spirits go to each of the places. Maybe we could do some research and see if there's something, maybe something happened in that area. Who knows? In that, kind of couple of block area.
And I tried looking into it too. Like there used to be, Phipps had a mill there for a while. There was the Poor Farm and everything, but I couldn't find anything that was quite like specific to that
like
area.
Newspaper tragedy event thing that happened. Yeah. Well, that Poor Farm is enough. I mean, there's enough tragedy going on in just that location. A lot of pain, a lot of tragedy at those kind of locations. So if there's an energy there, I mean, that would be a good place to start. To figure out and stuff. So interesting. So any other events that like occur there? Any other like have they had big things? Or is it mostly people being touched, pulled on, that sort of thing? Or
cold spots, yeah. The cold spots pretty much stick to the same areas. The back room of Maud's is freezing. They said all the time. Also, someone was painting in there whenever they were preparing to open up the store. They had a friend in there painting, and I got this from Ghoul on Ghoul. They said their friend was working, and someone walked into the store, because the door wasn't locked, and the person who was painting was like, hey, we're not open, and the guy who walked in said, oh, I own the place, and started walking to the back. Now, apparently the back door can only be locked from the inside, and when he went to the back room, there's no one back there, and the door is still locked. So... whoever did this went to the back and vanished. So again, I think this kind of leads to the idea that Harold is a little bit more like someone who owned a business, someone who may have been a little more well off, and severely judgmental and
a jerk. I mean,
needs to get an attitude adjustment.
Yeah, a little bit. Again, anybody, don't go in, don't provoke the spirits or anything,
never.
especially if he is that much of a jerk. But, if anybody has ever had any experiences with Harold or any of the other ghosts in that area, let us know. We'd love to hear more stories. Find us on all the social medias that are in the show notes. So,
Also,
cool.
if you're looking for a great place to get something to eat, definitely check out Harold's Haunt, because I got the Bette Midler's Wind Beneath My Wings with the Korean barbecue sauce, and it was so good.
Okay, now you've sold me. I have to go here now. They have the fact that they have a Bette Midler themed dinner is just like, that's enough. The ghosts and the food, I'm all for it. I'm there.
Yes. The whole scene. And like I was there with a friend and everything. I was like, yeah, let's go get something to eat, but also can I do a little bit of work while we're here? And Athena's like, hey, we're gonna go do a quick ritual over at Maud's if you want to come. And I'm like covered in sauce. Like this is the most unprofessional
wing, like in hand.
in hand. And I was like, I would love to do that, but I am so happy eating this right now.
That's the sign of a good tavern. A good bar is if the food is that good, you won't even go do a ghost investigation or a ritual. That's a good sign right there. Like,
you threatened me with a good time, and here I am, covered in wing sauce. So it was a good time. It was a wonderful time.
That's fantastic. That's good to hear. Well,
let's hear yours. I'm excited.
So mine is a place, honestly, I didn't know about until I started doing research, but it caught my eye. The minute I started, trying to research haunted bars, it must have autofilled to haunted bars in Pittsburgh, because I didn't do that on purpose. I was like, haunted bars, and it popped up. And the first result happened to come from Haunted Pittsburgh, as well as the website for the tavern itself. And again, we'll link those in the show notes. But this is the Jean Bonnet Tavern. It is actually located in Bedford, PA, which is about 2 hours, like southeast-ish of Pittsburgh. Apparently, I can't speak. And it's a fascinating little place. I did some research into it. Nobody knows how old this building is for sure, but they know based on the oldest historical documents they could find that it at least dates back to 1762. So we're talking about like old. Apparently it was originally a resting place for travelers, including troops from the Whiskey Rebellion, and apparently even George Washington himself was there at a point.
Oh, jeez.
After the development of cars, guests traveling across the Lincoln Highway started using it as a stopping point. It was like a good place, a welcome place to stop during the night. John Bonnet, which the building is named after, is not the original owner, but he purchased the building in 1779, and even though it's passed hands like multiple times since his owning of it, it kind of stuck as the name. It became the Jean Bonnet Building. And it's been public, it's been private, land, it's been all kinds of stuff. But no matter what, it was the Jean Bonnet Building. And so now it's known as the Jean Bonnet Tavern. And the ghost stories from it, even though it's dating back all the way to the 1700s, the ghost stories really didn't start until around 1957. There was a family that bought the property called the Enyart family, Enyeart. Apologies for mispronouncing that if I did, but that seems to be about the time the ghost stories started. Okay. And after that, it's just been one thing after another. People have been reporting being touched while sitting like far away from others at the tavern. There's also reports of doors being found in different states of open and close, even though guests and employees know that they didn't leave it that way. Like they'll shut it, they'll come back, it's open, and then they'll, find it at different stages of opening, so it's moving throughout that time. There's even a story of a person who was sober there with a group of people. They were kind of like the sober person there. And they were watching as through a doorway, there was a group of people, as they described it, dressed in frontier-type clothes, standing there watching the piano player perform live for the patrons in the actual tavern at the time.
Oh, okay.
So people are seeing some pretty intense stuff. They're getting,
Yeah.
they're getting vibes and feelings and stuff, but they're also like seeing spirits.
Do you ever I've like asked that question? Like, I'm sure you've seen this meme where it's like, where are all the ghosts from 2006 screaming it's Britney?
Right.
Do you ever wonder why you never see, like, I want to see ghosts in Jenko jeans with puka shell necklaces and bucket hats. Like, where are our early 2000s ghosts?
It's never that case. It's never the case, right? It's like, and maybe it's because people, maybe that's a fashion choice people want to leave behind, so they're not representing themselves in that.
I'm kind of tempted to like go get a Regency dress and a parasol because you never know. And if you die, I want a fire fit for when I'm dead.
Right, exactly. You want to like I will probably appear in one of my mini flannels at some point, looking, with a band tee of some sort. That's how I want to show up. I don't want to, if I have to wear, like in the afterlife, do you think you have to wear old-timey clothes? Like, is it a regulation?
Well, I wonder. Like, you can't throw the cover, basically, and it's like you're a ghost in the costuming department, and they're like, listen, I'm sorry, honey, but like, you gotta stick with the theme.
Like, I'm sorry, you can't wear that Cure t-shirt. You can't, you gotta wear this old-timey bonnet in like 28 layers.
I'm sorry, you're wearing a ghost shirt and you died and now you're a ghost. That's a little too ironic. I'm sorry.
Look, I know, My Chemical Romance, the Black Parade, it's what everybody wants, but that's not what you're getting. You're
Can I at least dress up like a character from the Black Parade?
That's a good point. I guess that's close enough to old-timey. Can I be an oldtimey band leader? Yeah. In the, like the Music Man, like 76 trombones. That's what I want to show up.
I'm sorry.
You're okay. That's a good question. Because you're right. You never see anybody in like nobody's showing up in like J-Lo's jeans.
Yeah.
Whatever brand. I don't remember what brand she had, but like nobody's showing up in that, or like nobody's showing up in like, 80s like jogging wear, like one-piece suits or anything like that.
Leotards and headbands and stuff.
You're never seeing that. It's always...
Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah, exactly. I want it. Ghosts. If there's any ghosts listening to the show, please write in. Tell us, why are you always an old-timey garb?
What you wearing?
Yeah, who are you wearing?
We
Just
came
like
back
the
to the,
Nightcrawlers.
who are you wearing?
It's always going to come back to that.
Ghost influencers.
Oh, good Lord. That was the name of this podcast before we settled on Twice the Terror was Ghost Influencers.
Ghostfluencers.
Well, anyway, back to Jean Bonnet Tapper.
Yeah, sorry.
You're fine. So the building has some like dark events linked to it that people kind of speculate might be, some of the reasoning. There's like a robber who was hanged there in the 1700s. And another people often hear like a Civil War vet with a wooden leg walking around at night. So they'll hear his like peg leg hitting the hardwood floor and
Thumping.
stuff. But some things are less explainable. Like there's a story of a bartender who was working there one night, and she had a friend come in, and the friend got way too drunk. They couldn't drive themselves home or anything like that. So her, as the article put it, and I have no idea what this means because this is from the Jean Bonnet website, they describe it as her male companion who was there. So I don't know if that means coworker or boyfriend or husband or what, but another person was there. And so they both helped this intoxicated person back to their home. They were getting ready to lock up anyway, so they knew that the owners would be okay if they locked up the bar, took the person home, and then came back and finished cleaning and everything like that. So they make sure everybody's gone, lock up, take this guy home, and when they get back through the window, they can actually see this guy sitting alone in the bar, just sitting there drinking by himself. And so they're like, "Oh crap! Did we, leave a patron in there or something like that?"
Yeah.
So they unlock the bar door to go in and look, and there's nobody there. And so they're like, "Okay, did this guy like run out the back door?" They look around the entire building. There's no signs of breaking any sort of entry or exit, and nobody's in the building whatsoever. So there's no signs that this was a corporeal person. It sounds like it was something a little bit more supernatural. You can also stay at the tavern.
They found more than spirits in that place.
Drinking spirits.
I'm sorry. Okay. I'll let myself out.
So you can stay at the tavern as well. There's a few rooms that you can still rent. Supposedly, one of the rooms with the most activity is room 3, and it's famous for a rocking chair that kind of moves at night on its own. Oftentimes, people will just like put clothes or items or stuff on that rocking chair, and the next morning, it'll all be on the floor, as if something like cleared the seat to like sit there and rock back and forth, watching them like
Rocking
sleep.
chairs are by far the spookiest piece of furniture.
Right, 100%. Because it's like, if that's moving, there's either a gust of wind or someone sitting in it. They don't just kind of start moving on their own. So, a pretty interesting place. I thought that the fact that there's so much history to it, it's so old, but there's not a whole lot of like what it could be. You know what I mean? People have seen all kinds of stuff, felt all kinds of stuff. But it sounds like a good place for people who do love history and who love hauntings to visit. I haven't been there myself, but I'm probably putting it on my list of places to check out across the kind of general Pittsburgh area still.
Yeah. Hey, Jean Bonnet Tavern, if you want us to do an episode, please.
Yeah, please. If anybody works or knows the people who work for the Jean Bonnet Tavern, reach out to us. We'd love to go there, check it out, interview people. That'd be fun. It'd be really cool.
Be lit.
But yeah, that's about all I got for that today. Okay. So pretty interesting. I mean, again, there's a lot. I think this is a topic we can talk about more too, because like we said, Pittsburgh has a lot of bars, a lot of history, a lot of cemeteries, and a lot of bars next to cemeteries. Yeah. So it would be really interesting to kind of go in and take a trip to some bars and see what kind of the local ghost stories are. Again, if anybody knows anything, if anybody owns a bar or knows somebody owns a bar or anything, and you want to write into us or send us anything, again, check us out. We're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. Reach out to us. Tell us like what experiences you've had, and maybe we'll check it out. Maybe we'll do another episode on haunted bars. Yeah. There's a lot of options. Tip your bartenders well when you go to these places, because they got to deal with some of the most interesting patrons. Yeah, you got to, bartenders, they deserve a lot. They deal with interesting customers as well as interesting hauntings, apparently. Yeah. So the true front lines, I mean. Absolutely. So crazy. But anyway, alrighty, Kat. Well, for this episode, why don't you go ahead and close us out? Well, there you have it. Another episode of Twice the Terror. If you have any other suggestions for us of episodes you'd like to hear in the future, or any questions, comments, please tell me you don't have any concerns. I don't want to hear your concerns. Please let us know in the comments. Like, follow, subscribe, haunt us on all of your social platforms that we have listed down below. Until next time.